When I ask you, who is PCA as a baseball player, you tell me.
Oh my God, it's so crazy you're asking me that question, because this whole time getting ready for this report, I was thinking, who is he? I was thinking the same thing. Well, I can't put him in a box. I can't figure out who he is. I can't compare him to someone. A lot of people will obviously say Javi Baez, but that isn't completely correct. You know, a reporter asked him post-game today, or said to him, it was a statement, said to him, obviously you feed off emotion. Now, that looks like that might be true, or the 21-year-old Pete Crow-Armstrong certainly did. I'm not sure the 23-year-old necessarily does. This is just a solid baseball player who is very humble off the field, and his game has really tightened up on the field. We've talked about it before, but he's not this chaotic disaster on the bases sometimes that he was a couple years ago. Even though he's running all over the place, it's with a purpose. Same thing out in the outfield. He's been better. Today was an adventure because of the wind. And then obviously at the plate, it's just a tighter game at the plate. He's hitting pitcher's pitches out for home runs. Today he hit a hitter's pitch, mistake pitch, boom, he jumps on it. That's the sign of a great player. When you're doing both those things, you're not letting mistakes get by you. You're also hitting their pitches. So I can't figure out exactly who he is. I did ask counsel after the game. I mean, it's hard to think of him 6 weeks ago, a month ago, what he was then. And the ceiling that he possesses now, it's like night and day when you combine the speed and the power. So I think it's a good question to open up to listeners. Like, what is he exactly? Who does he remind you of? Because I don't think Javi Baez is completely correct.
Yeah, and I'm not sure either. We asked when you were gone. We asked Passon for a comp. He said Grady. Yeah, he said Grady Sizemore. Sizemore was great. I think he had a shorter career of greatness. I think it was 5 or 6 years where he was truly great. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I said Lenny Dykstra with the Phillies, but he says he's way better than Lenny Dykstra. Let's talk short term though, Jesse. When you talk about him in the leadoff spot, it's something that Ian Happ has done and done well. Is he just going to be too good that you can't put him down in the order if he remains the way he's been remaining when Ian Happ comes back?
I don't think so, but obviously if he continues to have 4-hit games, that'll give counsel something to think about. I also asked him about batting leadoff. It can be an adjustment. When we go back to Kyle Schwarber, who did not adjust well. Here's a midseason quickly up from 7-1. It's not like going from 3-1. I mean, he's going from 7-1. And especially at home, there can be a first inning adjustment because as soon as that third out is made, you need to be running in from center field ready to hit. Different if you're playing third base. I know it sounds like a little thing, but I've talked to Dexter Fowler, other guys. That is something real. You're running, you're sprinting in and then getting ready. In fact, he's taken a page out of Ian Happ's book. He said he's put his batting gloves in his back pocket. So he's getting them on as he's running in from center field, at least when he leads off that first inning. So there hasn't been much of an adjustment. But, this is a guy that's a first-round pick, and this applies to Cade Horton as well. They have been through some things that later-round picks haven't been through, right? They can adjust quicker. That's why they were first-round picks. And so I don't doubt that he could stay there and have success, but I think he's going to go back down. He'll probably cool off at some point here. If he doesn't, he's going to win the MVP. So, it's Happ's job. I don't see him losing it, and at some point, Pete Crow goes down. But it's like he's not staying down there for years and years and years. He's going to be up near the top for a lot of his career.
Jess, you use the 3-letter word that I think some Cubs fans have started to hover around now with PCA, but what would a stat line look like for MVP? Because can I throw you out something? If he's 40-40 and a platinum glove, is he winning MVP this year?
Well, he's in the team picture. I mean, he's in the same league as Shohei Ohtani. There's a lot of variables in the National League, a lot of good players. Let's talk WAR. If he's an 8-9 WAR player, that's MVP caliber type stuff. And he might get there because you include the defense, which a lot of players don't get the boost on defense from WAR. So he'll start to be in the team picture. I mean, our buddy Bruce Levine won't stop telling me about how he was, first on this bandwagon. We have a long way to go. It is kind of a first full year for him, but I don't doubt that right now he would be getting some votes, whether it's top 5, top 3, or number 1. I don't know. But, yeah, Tyler, we could start talking about 40 years. I mean, if he gets 40 home runs, I don't care what pace he's on. I'll still be shocked. But he might get there. I'm not. That's my point with Counsell. The ceiling is really as high as the sky right now. The way the talent is jumping off the TV, or if you're at the game watching him. So, but certainly 40 with an 8 or 9 WAR is going to get him there for sure.
I like that the ceiling's the sky, not like Michael Jordan once said, the ceiling is the roof.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but it like just when you said that, when you said before Tyler's question, you mentioned those 3 letters, MVP. Even while he's doing it, and I do give Bruce credit. Like, Bruce has been on me too, because he asked that question or was mentioning that, I think, to Counsell or someone. I forgot how that came up. But just even to hear 40, I just think the goal still, because we know, Jesse, that there's going to be a time when he goes 1 for 23. It's just going to happen. It happens to every hitter in baseball. It still happens to Shohei. It happens to the best of them. And then we'll see, like, how quickly he can adjust and get out of there. So, like, my goal right now is just to be equally as dynamic. And, like, I think 30 is to be I remember when Sammy first hit the 30-30 club. That was pretty special.
Yeah, you may have seen my tweet. He's already the first player ever 12 home runs, 10 stolen bases, 30 RBI, some incredible offensive stats, some combination of power and speed. He's the first guy ever, and the last one that came close to him was 95, Sammy Sosa. I don't remember the exact numbers, but we see what he's doing. And, yeah, I mean, 30, 40, these are numbers, you couldn't conceive of. Now, granted, it's easier to steal a base, but I even feel like in the old days, Pete Crow-Armstrong would be stealing bases because he's just that fast. So I love it that we don't know what he's going to be. And that's why I can't believe in 1 month it's turned like this, right? You were hopeful he'd hit 250 with a few stolen bases a month ago, and now we're talking MVP caliber numbers. And then again, I go back to off the field and how he's processing it. Could not be more humble and calm about it. He was asked today about MVP and All-Star and all that stuff, and how do you process that in your day? And he's like, I don't. I just come here and do my thing. And then I talked to him after the group, and I tried to get him on with you today, and he's like, my girlfriend Haley's waiting for me. But tell those guys I say hi. I'll do it tomorrow for you.
Good.
I'm like, well, Silvy's not on tomorrow, but we didn't get into that. But he's just like, I mean, from 21 to 23 years old, I certainly didn't make that leap. I know you didn't, Silvy. I'm talking about the mature leap that he's made. It just feels like a different person and player. And you got to love it, because you need to stay humble in this game, because it will humble him. Like you said, 1 for 21 is always around the corner.
I'm enjoying it, and Tyler, I don't know how you feel. You're younger than me. But I've just learned with age and through the last era of Cubs baseball, and even with some guys on the South Side, that enjoy every second of a blossoming player, because there's nothing more fun, a blossoming team. But never make grand statements on where he could go with his career. Like, we thought Luis Robert was going to be a perennial 30-30 guy and be one of the most dynamic players in town. And then he just fell off. We thought and Chris Bryant did arrive, but then we know how quickly we know how quickly it could go south. It's even for guys who have arrived. So that's why I'm not counting any chickens before they hatch here.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. We've been around long enough to know that. I mean, how many guys have unbelievable starts to their career, or a middle couple, 3 years at the beginning of their career, and they look like Hall of Famers? How many Hall of Famers out there? 1%? Like, yes.
Cody Bellinger's another one, Jesse.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You want to hope that. I mean, Theo said it famously: progress isn't linear. You want to hope that it is, and in many other sports it is. But in baseball, you could be going in one direction, and all of a sudden you take a left turn in the wrong way, or you could be going wrong, and all of a sudden your career takes off. It's just great to see it at such a young age, because you hope that he can advance. I remember, like it was yesterday, Joe Madden talking about his 2016 team and how young those guys were, and just wait until they get the experience and maturity that comes with playing a few years. And what happened? Almost none of them went the direction we thought. Maybe Schwarber actually did, and he was the guy that struggled the most in a lot of ways. So it's just so hard, and that's why I agree with you. Just enjoy it, enjoy the team, enjoy the run, enjoy PCA, because that kind of talent doesn't come along very often.
Jesse, there was the report earlier in the year that they were in contract negotiations, and nobody probably more thankful that they didn't sign that deal than PCA and his agent. But have they been talking at all about getting something done, or is that just going to be something that gets figured out far down the road?
I don't think it's necessarily far down the road, but it usually quiets down around now. I don't have any new inside information. I will say that it's not normal to be talking about a contract right now. It could pop up again at the All-Star game. But look, his agent, I believe, is the same agent as Crochet and some of the other big-time stars in this game. It's a big agency. I kind of read the tea leaves that way. They're not taking some major hometown discount. Like, you're going to have to pay him at this point, the way things are going. Of course, the Cubs, would love to lock him up right now, but the agent's going to be like, look, Tyler Aki's talking about the MVP here. We're going to need a couple $100 million or something crazy like that. So it feels like an awkward moment because, he's at his height right now in this moment, and we're in the middle of the season. So, I hearing the numbers that came out early in the year, spring training, that makes sense to me. To hear something updated right now would be a surprise.
Before we go to the Sox, Jesse, the third base situation for the Cubs continues to be a major hole. Birdie looked bad at the plate today. He was 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. He's hitting .213, getting on base, .272, and he's got to get on base because that's how he steals bases then. And other than that, he's not much of a productive guy. Shaw had a really, really big game yesterday. He settled back in with his good swing at AAA. Where are they going to go with him? Are they going to be extra patient, or might we see him sooner than we expect?
I think sort of the normal progression here. He's getting better every day. He's getting closer every day, but I can't give you a date. So I don't think it's a rush job. I don't think it's a patient job. It's just like you know it when you know it. I think the Central Division, the offense outside of Shaw, all these things play a part. Like, the Cubs aren't blowing this whole thing because Matt Shaw's not up here. So I'm sure they'll err a little bit on patience. I don't think they want to do the up and down thing. Like, the next time he comes up, you kind of want it to be for the season, because then you start messing with the guy's head if he's up and down, up and down. So probably err a little bit on the patient side because of what I just said, the division, the offense without him. But I think within a month or so, he's back up here. I mean, maybe a lot sooner than that. Could be a week or so. But I do think progress is being made. Counsel mentioned that before the game, the people I've talked to. But there are changes happening down there. I don't have all the specifics. And when you're making changes, you got to give it a little bit time to settle in and make sure they're real and they can be lasting. So I think it's a little bit ways, but not that long. And when he's up here, they hope that it's for good. But look, they're still winning enough games without him. I think they're going to be okay.
Jesse, Moises Ballesteros got his first career hit today, also knocked in a couple runs. What is the plan with him? I know he was called up because of the injury to Happ, but is this as simple as Ian Happ is healthy to go and Moises gets sent back down, or are they trying to find a way to keep him up here for the foreseeable future?
No, I think it's the former thing you said. I think he goes down when Ian Happ's back. I mean, I have a whole conspiracy theory for you that, okay, Happ could have maybe kept trying to come back, eventually would have made it back and without going on the IL. But the Cubs saw the schedule. They saw the opponents. They figured they're going to need some pitching help in July. What better way to showcase Moises Ballesteros than right now against the White Sox, against the Reds, against some of these lesser teams, although the Reds can pitch a little bit. And then he goes back down, but teams have something to look at on video. Maybe he comes up for another stint if someone else is hurt. But my point is they pick the spots and they dangle them come July. And I'm not saying they're going to trade him. But at this point, anybody that's knocking on the door from AAA to the majors is going to be dangled in July. This is a year they're going for it, and they're probably going to need pitching. So I think he's going to go back down before the league catches up with him. Yeah, that's my conspiracy theory. But I also think just because to continue to get at bats, they're not going to try to squeeze him in the lineup and move Bush to third base or anything like that, barring some major injuries on that side of the diamond. So, yeah, I think short answer, he's going back down once Happ returns.
We're talking to Jesse Rogers, Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. Waddle's out today. Tyler's in. To the Sox, Robert and Vaughn are going really, really bad. Robert's hitting 181. His OPS is in the 500s, Jesse. Same with Vaughn in the 500s. He's hitting 185. Those two, we thought they'd be like 10-year players as far as the way they could hit for the White Sox. There was something from Nightingale a week or two ago that says like the White Sox are trying to trade him by Memorial Day. Who's going to want him if he keeps hitting the way he's hitting?
Yeah, and I don't think the Sox want to sell him as low as he's even worse than the end of last year, right? So I don't think, all things being equal, you wanted to move him in the offseason, but he had come off a bad year, and it's no different right now. So no one's going to want him. All he has to do is get hot before the trade deadline. Now, that could be in June. That could be in late July. Just get hot there and show people. I was just talking about Ballesteros showing people, just show people you have it in you. Until he does that, I don't think he's going anywhere. I said to Carmen and Yurko today, with Bleck and Abdallah, I said, if he was a cancer, you might want to move him out because there's so many nice, positive, energized stories from the young players. And if he's bringing them down, that'd be one thing. But I don't think he is. So you may as well wait it out a little bit longer, unless they have some center fielder they just have to get in the lineup down in the minors. I don't think that's the case either. So I think you wait it out until he gets hot. And same thing with Andrew Vaughn. Man, wow. I really thought both those guys would rebound because you can't get much worse than last year. And there is a nice energy in that room. And young players sometimes have an impact in a positive way to veterans who have struggled and can bring out the best in them, just like sometimes a veteran can bring out the best in a young player. So I'm really surprised they haven't bounced back a little bit better. I know Robert is stealing bases, but he can't steal first. So I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon unless Chris Getz just feels like we got to get him off this team. And that may have been the case with Moncada and some other guys. It's Monty Grandel. I don't think that's the case here.
Well, what do you think about the Sox right now? Today's a bad day to hold it up and say, hey, they've made progress. I was talking to somebody from the Sox organization today, and there's a lot of things that are capable these days that were dysfunctional last year, starting with the manager. And I think this was a stretch of 15 games where they've looked better. And you'll take any progress, and some of the younger guys are playing with energy and better than last year's team. Believe me, I don't think they're good. Like I said at the beginning of the show, they've gone from dysfunctional and historically bad to maybe just a really bad team that's rebuilding right now. Would you agree or disagree with that point?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they're just a normal rebuilding team at the beginning of the rebuild, whereas last year they were rebuilding and dysfunctional and had a bad manager. So, yeah, there's some positives. Now, and I've been lauding those positives, as the things you just mentioned, but having said that, it's not like they have a guy that's vying for Rookie of the Year just yet.
No.
The best word we've been using is energy. You need production, too. And so Chase Mydriff and Caro and these guys, fine, but they need to produce more. They need to put themselves into that, young spotlight, not just bringing energy to the table. So having said that, though, you do like what's happening on the mound. Today was a bad day, and they actually played poorly in the field as well. There's going to be moments where they look really bad. In the last 2 days, they have. But then there's other moments previous to these 2 days where they have looked decent. I like what's happening on the mound. I like Cannon. I like Davis and the guys in the minors. That's the avenue to contending or being decent again. It's going to be on the mound more than anything. So, yeah, I think if you're Chris Getz, from the beginning of spring training to this moment, you between like or dislike, you like what's going on. But it's not completely perfect because the veterans aren't hitting, and there's still some young players that are looking good but haven't really exploded. And you want somebody to explode. It's nice to see Miguel Vargas hit a couple of home runs. If he can be that guy, that would be a huge, huge boost for their young players.
Jesse, what are some of the things, maybe they don't show up in the box score necessarily, but some of the things that you're seeing that it's like, all right, Will Venable is making a difference in that regard?
Well, I certainly didn't like him playing the infield down up 2-0 with second and third and nobody out in the second inning. That was really weird with the wind blowing out. They had two plays the play didn't work out, and then PCA hit that homer. But anyway, that was just a one-moment strategic move. Look, when you have a young team, and this applied with Joe Madden, I heard him on the air with you, Silvy, you really have to be a rock I'm doing a feature on Christian Yelich, and the Brewers always have young players because they don't pay players. And he told me he learned from Counsell, during chaos, you have to be a rock. I think it might be different on the Yankees or Dodgers. Not that they have chaos very often, but like the players take care of it. Those are veteran teams, right? The White Sox are a young team. Most of the time on veteran teams, the veteran players lead the group. On a young team, the manager leads the group. So I do think he's been a rock. I do think the fact that he doesn't make headlines post-game like Pedro Grifol did is a good thing. So I think he's, well equipped to handle this job. He's been well groomed, and he has proven to be kind of a steady force with a young team. Now, I'd like to see how they respond after a sloppy game today. Like, those are the ways we will judge him. What do the Sox look like tomorrow? Because I will tell you, he told me before the game, he warned them, it's a windy day here. Be ready on the base pass. Be ready in the field. Anything can happen. And a lot of things happened and went against the White Sox today. So let's see how they respond tomorrow.
Yeah, it was ugly. Anything else, Jesse, before we let you loose?
Well, Cade Horton has not walked a guy through 2 outings. I love that. Again, first-round pick. There's a maturity. These guys have played big-time college baseball. They know what it looks like. And with the wind blowing out, you don't want to give them any free passes. All of a sudden, it's a 3-run home run. So there's a maturity with some of these young players now that have reached AAA and made it to the majors. Something I talked about with you guys, like, this is the year in a lot of ways for the Cubs because the frontline players, but the depth is ready to contribute. Ballesteros, think about it. Ballesteros, PCA, and Cade Horton led the way today. Very young players, and that continues to be a thing for the Cubs in 2025. They can dip down and get something out of those guys. And, unlike Ballesteros, and I think Jim DeShea even talked about this, like, Cade Horton could stick around. Like, they don't have that much pitching on this team with some injuries, and even guys that are healthy. Like, he could stick around if he continues to pitch like he is. So that's a guy that might be here for the rest of the year for all we know.
Yeah, I hope he's here to stay for sure. Jesse, great stuff. Great to have you back.
Guys,
thank you.
You got it. Have a good weekend. Talk to you next week. Happy birthday, Mason.
There you go. There's Jesse Rogers, brought to you by your local Chicagoland Toyota dealers.